The sun's in my eyes. Hello and welcome to Lewis on Cars. Now you join me on a journey back through the pages of not so ancient history. Now picture the scene. It's 2020. Big bad COVID has made an appearance, which has thrust us in and out of all of the lockdowns. TikTok dancing videos were trendy and all the rage. There was some dodgy haircuts. There was Carole Baskin, who killed her husband, whacked him. And then there was 17-year-old me, who was first started learning to drive. It was exciting. It was something I'd always wanted to do. Something I've dreamed of doing ever since I was very little. So I was excited to be able to finally begin the process. So let me take you to where I actually first started driving on public roads. Now it was this very quiet stretch of road that I actually learnt the basics of my driving. Okay, this might not be quite such a quiet road, but nonetheless, oh, he nearly bloody hit the back of me. But it was this very stretch of road that I learnt how to park on the left, park on the right, and do a 3-point turn as well. Now let's see if I can do a 3-point turn as good as I did when I was learning to drive. Check all of my blind spots, indicate. And the goal is to try not to hit any of the curves. Do all of my checks. Squeaky brakes. Oops, that was the curb. I definitely failed. Oops. Now fast forward to September 2020, and I hadn't actually long picked up my first car, which was a 2010 Kia Picanto 1.1 Domino Special Edition. And I thought I was such a comedy genius, I actually printed out a picture of a Domino and stuck it on the back of the car. Yeah. And to add to that, I then stuck some neon footwell lights in the footwell to match it. But in September, I took my very first journey in that car with my mum and my brother up to our local bowling alley, partly for a nice fun day out for the three of us, and also an impromptu driving lesson, because we thought, why not? I remember my first experience in that car was perhaps not the best. I was terrified of that car when I first drove it, because if you twitched your foot on the accelerator, the reds would just go, it would shoot right up. If you even just glanced at the brakes, you could go through the windscreen. They were that sensitive. But it was all part of the formative experience of learning to drive, and it's quite fun to look back on. And here we are at Tenpin. And that Qashqai parked there was exactly where I parked the Picanto when we came here on that fateful day. Between September and November 2020, in between all of the usual sort of driving lessons I'd have with my instructor, hi Sam if you're watching, my mum would also take me out in my car, but predominantly my granddad used to take me out in the car as well, and he'd go through all the stuff that I was doing in my lessons. He'd have a few routes in mind, so we'd normally start off in Felixstowe, come up the A14, and then we'd end up here in Levington, which is quite a small village. But driving on these sort of roads would get me used to all the different scenarios that come into regular driving. That's a very quaint small barn. One thing my instructor always taught me was, when there's less space, less speed, because then you can judge all the size and where to fit your car on the road or through the gaps. This would be such a nice place to live, although a little bit out of the way, which would mean your shopping trips would be a little bit more difficult. Oh shit! funny story, just in this road there was someone's house. I was on a test drive when I worked at Mazda with a guy who wanted an MX-5 and he wanted to test the parking sensors. And what did he do? He nearly reversed into the garage door. And then as we came up this road, as it went from 30 to national, he gave it a bootful. What happened next? We nearly ended up in that telegraph pole. Code brown. Okay, Mr. Impatient. By December 2020, I'd passed my driving test. Just one fault, and that was to do with me reversing up a drop curb whilst I was doing my reverse park manoeuvre. And I was quite lucky because had I hit the side of the curb with the wheel, I'd have failed, and had I gone further up the drop curb and over the pavement, I'd have failed that way as well. So I was quite lucky just to get the one minor fault. And a couple of days later, after I passed, I got my car insured, and then I drove down here to the viewpoint. And along the way, I picked up a teenager's wet dream, the good old McFlurry. This one is supposedly a new flavour. It's a munchy one, and apparently it's vanilla strawberry cheesecake thingy. That's quite good. But I think what isn't talked about enough when you pass your driving test is not only the excitement of passing, but also the realisation that you've got no one next to you to direct you and tell you what you need to do. I remember the first night that I drove, when I drove down here, I remember thinking, oh my word, I've got no one next to me to kind of point out any flaws or mistakes or any tips. So I'm kind of literally flying solo. And yeah, it is scary. And for anyone sort of going on to do their lessons or the driving test, it will be a bit scary and a bit like, ooh. But honestly, once you get past that, it is the best feeling in the world. Providing you obey the laws of the road, you don't drink and drive, you don't speed, and generally just don't be an idiot. So there we go. That was the journey of me learning to drive right up until when I passed. I think I've had a good 6 years since passing. I've had lots of different opportunities that I've never would have had had I have not passed my driving test. So I think we'll end it there. Thank you very much for watching. Please consider subscribing if you'd like to see more content. I'd like to review some cars at some point. That would be a bucket list thing for me to be able to do. So if you have any cars that you'd like me to feature on the channel, then please let me know, either in the comments or you can find me on Instagram under Lewis on Cars and just send me a direct message. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope to see you on the next video. Take care.